Hello, everybody. My name is Rhiannon Frank. I am the writer for College Gym News's Judges Inquiry column, and for today's article, we're going to talk about some basics for watching and understanding beam. Now, I think beam is one of the easier events to watch because it all happens in one straight line. The skills are very precise and a lot slower than on bars or vaults or floor even, so it can be a little bit easier to follow along. But the difficulty in beam really comes in connecting skills together. So today we're going to talk about the requirements that everybody has to do, some of the compositional requirements as well, and then things that I watch for as a judge when I'm trying to separate the good from the great beam workers. So the first requirement is an Acro Series. So I have 3 examples here. An Acro Series is just 2 or more skills that have flight in them that are connected. For NCAA, the skill has to have a minimum of at least one C value element in it to be considered. So we have a side aerial, which is a D, to a layout step out, which is also a D, which meets the requirement. In the middle, we have a front aerial to a back handspring. So front aerial is a D and a back handspring is a B, which meets the requirement. And then on the right, we have a back handspring layout, step out, which is what we call a triple series, which gets you even extra bonus points, which also meets this requirement. Gymnasts are also required to do a dance series. A separate requirement is that they have a 180-degree split leap or jump. So the 3 examples I have here below are pretty common that you see. Usually the athletes will do some sort of split leap or switch leap or straddle jump connected to something else. This is also a very common way that gymnasts get bonus, is if you connect leaps and jumps that are higher than a B or a C together, then you can get bonus points as well. What's interesting about the dance series is that you can also connect a C dance element to an acro. So for example, if you were to do a full turn with your leg at horizontal, which is a C on beam, into like a gainer back handspring or something, that would count as a dance acro series, and that would fulfill that dance acro requirement. But because there's no 180-degree split, you would still need to do some sort of split jump later in the routine. So with these requirements, you can see a lot more individuality and variation among the gymnasts. Some like to do the dance and the acro together. Others would rather just do dance elements. Every athlete is required to do a full turn. Miley O'Keefe is my favorite full turn in the NCAA, so I just have her on this slide. But if you see a wolf turn, that would also fulfill the requirement. They just have to do a minimum of a full turn on one foot. And then the last requirement is a C difficulty dismount. I have 3 different ones pictured here. So we have back handspring, gainer full off the side. Now the gainer full is very popular in NCAA. We have a punch front 1.5, which is also a C. And then on the right, we have a back handspring double full. A double full is now an E. So they get an extra 2/10 bonus for doing a double full. And then anytime that an athlete connects a B-level skill, like a round off, a back handspring, into a C, so on both Miley's on the left and Sierra Brooks on the right, they get an additional 10th bonus as well. So in addition to our special requirements, we also have composition requirements. So special requirements are worth 2/10 in the start value. So if you don't have one of those, you automatically lose 2/10 in your start value that you cannot make up with bonus. Composition, it comes off later. It doesn't come off from the start value, but it is a mandatory deduction, anywhere from a 1/2 to usually a 10th. So the 2 most common ones are they have to do forward, sideward, so like a front flip or a cartwheel or an aerial or a round off, and they also have to do backward skills, so a back handspring, a back layout, a back tuck. They can't just do all front tumbling or all back tumbling on the beam. They also have what's called an up to the level of difficulty deduction, meaning that you can't just meet the basic requirements. You have to do skills that are at the level that you would expect of the NCAA level 10, or not level 10, the NCAA gymnastics. So this requires additional difficulty in acrobatic skills. Most gymnasts that start from a 10 are able to meet this requirement because they require a lot of bonus. But for example, if you don't have a back handspring, if you have a back handspring layout step out, or you have a front aerial to back handspring, or you have a aerial back handspring, those acro series are considered easier connections, and so you have to do some sort of other additional D or E acrobatic skill. So like a side aerial or a front aerial or a front tuck are pretty common additional skills that you'll see in addition to that series in order to not get this composition deduction. So if you're watching, if you see just a back handspring layout step out, make sure that you watch for a second tumbling skill as well. And then, like the other events, you have to get 6/10 of bonus on beam. You get bonus on beam by connecting dance and acrobatic skills, also by performing difficult tumbling skills on beam. If you do a triple series, meaning 3 skills in your acrobatics series, like a back handspring layout, or a side aerial back handspring layout, you get an additional bonus for doing 3 skills instead of just 2. And then, like I mentioned before, you get additional bonus if you do a B skill into a C dismount. So some of the tricks for beam that I look for when I'm a judge is that the most common variation you'll see for start values in judges is because they break connections or they give connections. And so you have to have a really, really careful eye watching the gymnast's feet to look for any sort of movement of their feet between connections. So this is a very gray area, so sometimes judges will give a connection but take a rhythm deduction if they think that it's slow, and others will completely break the connection, which may result in them not getting a special requirement or not getting bonus. So ideally, when I'm watching a series to get no rhythm deductions, it should look the same on the beam as it would on a line on the floor. That is a great connection in my opinion. So if you see any sort of wobble, if you see any sort of like stop or change of direction or adjustment of the feet or anything, then that technically breaks the connection. And the gymnasts are very, very good at hiding these little adjustments, so you really have to watch carefully to catch them. And then the other thing that's very common that I see is the same on floor is turning jumps. You would think that they'd have to be really precise on beam, and they do, but a lot of times if you see a full twisting jump, like a split full or a tuck full, a lot of times their feet will actually land closer to the 3/4 mark, and then they'll scoot their heels around the last bit and put their arms up. And so that would be a skill that would be devalued to the 3/4 jump, which is a C for a tuck, or a D for a split 3/4, rather than the full twist. The other thing is you want to watch for that I see is the alignment and the body position on ring and sheep jumps, which makes what makes these skills really hard is that they have to put their head back to vertical, so they lose sight of the beam, which makes it a lot harder for them to keep their balance and to land it securely. So they definitely have to have a clear head release, and their foot has to be at least at head height in order to get credit for the skill. So those are my tricks for beam. I hope it helps you to watch. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them below or on the article. And thanks for listening.